Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if it feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about 3 secrets for preventing an empty nest divorce, including the statistics. My guest, Basia, thought the only option for her marriage was to work on accepting things, to resign herself to the situation that after 35 years of marriage, her husband had had a relapse in his addiction and run up a huge debt. But then she discovered a power within her that changed everything. And today, there's warmth and affection in her marriage. She says that just when she thinks things can't get better, they do. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. That's coming up. But first, let's talk about 3 secrets for preventing an empty nest divorce, including the statistics. When your kids leave home to spread their wings, it's exciting and it's bittersweet. It's what you raise them to do, but there's also a letdown because you don't get to see them as much and they no longer need you as much, which is great, but can leave you feeling empty. If co-parenting was a big part of the glue that kept your marriage together, then the new quiet in the house can feel sad, especially if your marriage is struggling. According to the Pew Research Center, among those ages 65 and older, the divorce rate has roughly tripled since 1990, reaching 6 people per 1,000 married persons in 2015. But a survey from 55 Places, which is a retirement community website, found that 63% of empty nesters become closer to their spouse after the kids move out. On top of that, 58% said they become more intimate with their partner. So, how do you become one of the empty nesters who feels closer and has even more intimacy than when the kids were underfoot? Here are 3 ways, and you can use them before, during, or after your nest is empty. Number 1, celebrate your accomplishment. I hear about marriages where the only reason they're still together is because of the kids. They have an agreement to go their separate ways once the kids are out of the house. If you have had such an agreement, it's because you've both been unhappy and feeling unloved and lonely for a long time. Maybe the kids were a buffer from that pain. Or maybe the kids themselves were part of the conflict, like differences on how to raise them, how to speak to them, how to discipline them. And one way to change the narrative is to focus on and acknowledge out loud something positive that you did together. Successfully raised a human. And even if he wasn't a perfect dad and the kids aren't perfect either, your joint blood, sweat, and tears are worth celebrating. It's kind of a big deal, like really big. It may feel like a stretch to acknowledge your husband for his part of that accomplishment, but if you're willing to make a short list of the things that you appreciate about him as a dad, sharing your gratitude for him can go a long way toward reminding you both why you're still together. Number 2, create your vision. What do you imagine for yourself in your post-child rearing phase of life? Will you downsize or rearrange your home? Or now that you have more privacy, will you institute Naked Tuesdays? Will you travel or paint or blog? Will you and your husband host the holiday get-togethers and summer barbecues for the whole family? The reason this is so important to dream about, besides that it's so much fun, is because it's also a powerful way to create the future you envision. Honing in on your desires and expressing them in a way that inspires gives your husband a North Star to follow, to navigate by. And that's true even if you feel the only thing holding your marriage together is this co-parenting gig that you've had for the last couple of decades. If it's hard for you to imagine that kind of future for your marriage, that doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means you need more support to help you find your way there. Number 3, Find your joy. Change is so uncomfortable, and sending your youngsters into the world is one heck of a big change. You may feel triumphant about having successfully launched your mini-me's into the world, but weepy about letting them go. It's totally normal. If there's a hole in your life after being discharged from the job of taking care of your kids, this might be the time to make or update your frivolous self-care list. What would feel fun? What would delight you? What would make you smile and laugh? The more you tune into what brings you joy and give that to yourself, the more attractive you become to everyone, including your husband, including yourself. Plus, the more you'll have joy. Investing in making your marriage last and thrive means you'll also have someone to share that joy with. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. My guest, Basia, thought that the only option for her marriage was to work on accepting things, to resign herself to the situation that after 35 years of marriage, her husband had had a relapse in his addiction and run up a huge debt. But then she discovered a power within her that changed everything. And today, there's warmth and affection in her marriage. She says that just when she thinks things can't get better, they do. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. Basia, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm excited to get to hear your whole story today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
So what were things like in the bad old days in your marriage?
Oh boy, they really were bad old days, let me tell you. So we have been together since 1984. So I'm really old now. I'm just kidding. I don't feel old, but
No, you don't seem old.
Well, the numbers prove it. But we grew up together basically in our marriage. We both came into our relationship with a lot of baggage. And we're both in 12-step programs from the very beginning. So we've been in recovery together, and we basically literally have grown up together. It's, a lot of ups and downs. And somehow we managed to stay together through it all. So
that's a long marriage. That's 38. Is it 38 years?
Yeah, 38 years. We've been together 38 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I admire that very
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Thank you. It's quite an accomplishment in spite of everything. It's a miracle, especially,
Yeah.
everything we went through. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, not everybody makes it. A lot of people don't make it. Most people don't make it to 38 years. So it is a big accomplishment.
Very grateful. Very grateful. We've gotten to this place. It's not like the way I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. What were the conflicts you were having?
I want to say what were the conflicts we weren't having. That would be more likely the question. So, pretty much what happened was within a year and a half of being married, we went through bankruptcy and lost everything and had to build back up again. And for a long time, I really thought it was about money, but it really wasn't about money. None of this was really about money. I thought it was, but it really wasn't. It's a trust issue, I think, more than anything. I started to distrust him very early on. And You know, we almost lost two houses after that. We almost lost this house about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Um, and I had been in Maine in 2016. This is when things really got bad. I was in Maine taking care of my mom, who subsequently, died. And I felt really grateful that I was able to do that at the end of her life. But that left my husband alone quite a bit, and he was in charge of the money. And when I got back, finally came home, after taking care of her, I found out that he had run up $20,000 in debt. And yeah, because most of the time I was gone, he wasn't working. And he wasn't working because he was back in his addiction. He had relapsed. And it was really, really devastating for me. Recovery was the center of our life. It's what originally had brought us together. And he had told me everything was going well, everything was being taken care of at home. And I found this out. It really was devastating. I felt so betrayed. I felt so lied to, that I trusted him, even though we'd had all this difficulty throughout our whole marriage around money and him working or not working. I mean, the whole working thing really was his choice not to work. It was part of his addiction. And so I came home and I was just like in such fear, terrible fear and confusion, a lot of confusion. And so I did what I thought was the right thing to do. I jumped in to save everything. Of course, that's what I would do.
Yes.
Uh,
That was my plan too, early
yeah,
on. Yeah. So why
yeah,
not? Of
of
course.
course, of course, of course. So I took all the financial stuff away from him. And I called not the insurance companies, the credit card companies, and I made deals with them and paid the debt down. It took a long, long time. And 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 he had said to me, everything's going to change, everything's going to be okay now. And of course, I didn't believe him. I didn't trust him. I had so little disrespect for him. But I was in fear mode, and I became very, kind of embarrassing, but I became very hyper vigilant. I watched every move he made. I listened outside his office door. I heard him joking with friends. I heard him watching movies. I heard him playing video games, and it just, every time I did that, it was like I was gathering evidence that I couldn't trust him, that he wasn't doing his part, that he was not stepping up to the plate, that he wasn't taking care of me. And I grew up in a home that fiscal responsibility and showing up and doing your part, it's a very, New England Yankee, put your nose to the grindstone, be a success, that's what I grew up in. I could not understand this at all. And so when that didn't work, me trying to talk to him, and I brought out the big guns, and I hired accountants to come in and sit at our dining room table with us, and experts in recovery, and they would lay everything out for him, and I would feel so vindicated. I would feel like, and he would agree with everything they said, but I would feel so vindicated. So, see, this is all your fault. It's all your fault. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back at it now and I think how demoralizing that must have been for him.
Hmm.
It pains me that had gotten to that point where I was so desperate. I didn't see that I had any options other than to take control of the situation, which of course I couldn't control. This was way beyond me. I was living with somebody who was in active addiction. And it's like you would think with all my years in recovery, I would understand that. You know, it's that it's a disease, it's not a moral issue. And I had it all in this big moral issue, and I was the victim and I was the martyr because I'm the one that had to save the marriage, not save the marriage, only save the marriage. It was like save the boat. I was like, the ship's going down, the ship's going down. So I'm working like a fiend and I'm martyring myself and I am oozing disrespect all over the place.
And I'm guessing resentment too,
Oh,
right? Because that was my that
so
was
much resentment. So much resentment.
yeah.
And I didn't I had no other option. I had no tools until I
No,
until
you
I
didn't
came
know.
here, and I had no tools at all.
So how was the relationship
Oh,
during
it
this
was,
time?
oh yeah, not good. It
Not
was
good,
really not
yeah.
good. We hardly ever saw each other. Um, he was in his man cave all the time because who would want to be around me? And I didn't want to be around him either. I didn't want to be around him. So, he was in his man cave for, probably about 16, 17 hours a day. And the only time he really ever came out was when he had to get a meal. He'd come into the kitchen, he would make a meal, he would take the meal and go right back into his office. And that's really where he lived.
Mm.
And he stayed there till late at night. And I went to bed alone, and I woke up alone. And
Mm.
that was it. It's very sad when I think about it. It's like, I
Mm.
can't even believe that's the way it was. It was just so horrible. It's
Mm.
like when I think about the way I behaved towards him, it was just like so cold and so critical. And I thought I was doing a good job at hiding it, but of course I wasn't. I mean, it's so sad when I think about it now, Laura. It just is so sad.
Yeah.
And I was and I really had tried everything. I really had. I
Yeah.
was in therapy for like a good solid 5 years around this. It didn't help. It really didn't.
Mm.
It just didn't. She didn't have the answers for me. You
I
know,
know. Yeah.
I went to my rabbi. I went to, you know, organizations in the community here that help us with financial issues. Like I said, I called in accountants and I called in people in recovery.
You were
And
seeking, you were looking
oh,
for the answers. Yeah. Yeah.
and I finally, I should tell you, I gave him an ultimatum.
Oh,
I
what did you
actually
say?
gave him an ultimatum. I remember I was standing in the alley behind my house, and I was sobbing into the phone. First, I called my therapist, and then I called my AA sponsor, and I was sobbing into the phone. I didn't know what to do. I said, I don't know what to do. I have to give him an ultimatum, and they cheered me on.
Yeah. Yeah.
They cheered me on because they
They
didn't know
did,
what else for
right?
me to
They
do.
didn't
Yeah.
know what else to do either. They didn't know either. Nobody knew. Oh gosh, it sounds I just hear the heartbreak. You're sobbing in the alley behind your house. It's not a fun moment for you. Very painful moment, it sounds like.
It was really hard. Yeah.
What was your ultimatum to him?
My ultimatum was that he go back into a recovery program, actually pick up another recovery program that had to do with money. And they to get a sponsor, and he talked to a sponsor every day, right? I'm laying it all out for him. Like, I got the solution here, and this is what you're going to do. And they're going to go back into therapy about this. And, you're going to hand all the money. I'm going to keep all the money. I'm going to keep, that part of it because it's, the best thing to do right now. And I told him, and if you don't do this, I can't live like this anymore. You're going to have to go to your sister's.
Oh, you were gonna kick him out if he didn't do all those things. Wow.
Right.
Oh, it
And I
sounds
had
like
it
an
all worked out
awful
in my mind, like
moment.
how I was going to do it, like I was going to get roommates in.
So you thought about this for a while. You had to
Yeah,
solve it. Yeah. Oh gosh. So it sounds super painful. And I'm guessing it didn't land very well.
It it didn't land really terribly either. I think he saw how serious I was, and I think it scared him. And so, he agreed to everything. But of course, that really, I was relieved. He got into another recovery program. He started to make some inroads, but we weren't making really any significant progress in our relationship at all. Nothing much had changed with me. And really, how can anything get better if nothing changes with me? It's just, it's
Mm.
like I was still resentful and disrespectful and controlling and sad. I was like
Mm.
so unhappy, so
Yeah.
unhappy.
Yeah. So there was a lot of misery. You were just you were suffering. You were suffering.
And
Yeah.
anybody who's in recovery from an addiction knows that there's tremendous emotional highs and lows. It's like a roller coaster. And I was like riding the roller coaster right along with him, and you know what else, Laura? He was so angry with me. He was so angry with me all the time. And I couldn't understand it at all. It's like I couldn't understand that. Why was he so angry with me?
Well, it sounds so unfair because he's the
Yeah,
one, right, that did all
right,
these things wrong. But
right.
yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, it's yeah, it sounds
Mm,
incredibly painful and I relate to so much of your story and showing up similar ways in my marriage, trying to fix things, not knowing what to do, not being able to find the resources to figure out what to do, not having the right support.
right.
So was there a moment, and well, this ultimatum moment I think was a big one, but that you thought, well, we can't go on like this. Was that
Yeah, we
yeah.
can't go on like this. And it's like I had helped as much as I could. That was
Yeah.
me. I had everything I could. I'd helped as much as I could, and I couldn't go on like this. So things didn't get better after that for a few years. And then can I tell you what happened?
Yeah, what happened? What
Oh,
happened? Oh my gosh. What
good.
a year.
Yeah, this is like the best part. I can't believe it. It's like so amazing how, the universe just, organizes everything so perfectly. So I have a very, very good friend. I've known her for, well, now pretty much going on 30 years, and
Wow. It's
very
a long
close.
friendship.
And about a year, well, it's coming up on 2 years now. No, about a year and a half, I guess. Oh, whenever. Anyway, it was sometime last year. It was December. So it was sometime like last spring, a year ago spring. She told me about this amazing thing that she had found called Laura Doyle. And I went, oh, I know who that is. I knew who that was because this woman about 7 years before that had come running into my living room, waving the surrendered wife book in my face
Oh
and
no.
saying, you got to do this. You got to do this. It's like,
Was she
surrender? Come on, really? I'm going to say,
right? No.
no, no, no. So, oh my gosh. So I said this, I said to her, I don't know. I don't think so. And she said to me, well, let me tell you what's happening in my relationship. I'm going to tell you, it's like I haven't been doing this that long, she said. And I can't even believe the way my husband is responding so differently to me. The conversations that we're having, it's like there's more peace. It's not perfect, but I can't even believe it. And she told me, like when she stopped doing self care, that it went right back to the way it was before. And she's learning all about self care. And she said, she didn't say you should try this like the other woman. She didn't like, I didn't feel any pressure at all. But I knew this marriage. I knew this marriage, and it was not a pretty picture. And when she
Okay.
started telling me things were getting better, it's like, you can't really not pay attention to that.
No. No. So you knew the ins and outs because your friend had shared with you what was going on inside her marriage all these years.
Right.
And now she was describing something different. And this is such a great moment, really, too. Like, what a good split screen, too, because when your friend came in saying, you have to do this, right? She's being helpful in a way, right? And you were like, no, I'm not doing it. And then but then your friend just describing what her experience was, that made an impression on you, it sounds like.
A tremendous impression. This is a woman, a friend that we commiserated for years about our marriages. She
Okay.
knew everything, and I knew everything about her. And she's telling me this, like,
Yeah.
whoa,
And did was she had less to commiserate about, it sounds like.
yeah.
And she wasn't engaging and commiserating as much.
Even
So
if I wanted her to, no, she
she
was
wouldn't
not.
do it. She wouldn't
Nope.
do it. Oh my gosh. So it was almost like your friend was changing the whole culture of your friendship in a way by
Oh, in a big way.
in a big way. Wow. And that can be kind of alarming in a way too, right? A little, I don't know, did you feel a little bit like, wait, what are you doing? This is our deal. We
Right.
have our deal. It's still on. Why are you leaving me? This is not the right. Yeah. Did you feel some of that too?
Exactly. I did. I felt like some of the words that she was using, this isn't the way I normally talk.
Right.
She's
Like
not like
who?
being sympathetic toward me so much anymore.
Oh,
She was being empathetic, but she wasn't commiserating with me.
oh,
It
wow.
was I can't describe it. It was just very different. Um, and she gently started to suggest to me that I start to use the skill of self care. And I said, I know all about self care.
Yeah.
I know all about that.
Right.
I get 8 hours of sleep at night. I drink 8 glasses of water a day. I take my vitamins. I floss my teeth. I know all
Right.
about self care.
Right. You're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Wow. So what okay, so tell me more about your self-care then. What happened there?
Okay, so she said to me, she said, this is what I did. I wrote down a list of 20 things that I do for self care, things that are joyful in the moment that I'm doing them, that just make me feel so happy. And I really had a hard time with that. But I
Okay.
I found a couple. I did.
So it was hard to think of things that brought you joy, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, really hard. I mean, it really, really was hard. And I knew that I like to walk. Um, that's been something I've been doing all along. So instead of just going on my normal walk, I would put my dog in the car and we would go somewhere different and walk, around the quarry or out in the woods. And it's like, okay, that was pretty good,
You got some
and then,
nature. Yeah.
yeah,
A change
oh
of
yeah,
scenery. Yeah. Yeah.
you
What
know.
else? What else did you do for
Um,
self-care?
she says it doesn't have to be a big deal. So I would make myself a cup of coffee in the afternoon and sit down with a book and read for half an hour,
Nice.
you know.
Nice.
Um, let's see, there were many other things. Like I had stopped knitting. I knit baby blankets. I had stopped doing that a really long time ago. I picked up my knitting needles. I ordered some new yarn. The things like that were just so small and so significant, like buying myself a scented candle, taking a bath, you know. There are times, and today I'm like really big on self-care, but there are times when life is very, very busy and
Yes.
I can fit it in anywhere. I'm taking a shower in the morning anyway. Why not turn the jets on really hot and stand and just let it pound the top of my head for 3 minutes? Oh, it's so delicious.
I love this. I love this. So you became a convert to self-care. You are now making yourself ridiculously happy, it sounds like. Okay, but what does this have to do with your marriage and your friend's marriage and your friendship? What does this have to do with anything?
Okay, so one morning I woke up And I sat on the side of my bed and I realized I was smiling. And then later on that day, I was in the kitchen and I realized I was smiling. And I hadn't been smiling for so long. I'd walked around with such a sourpuss. You know, it's like, and I have the lines to prove it, like 6 years of lines here. Now I smile all the time.
You're gonna get those lines, right?
Yeah, I like
The
these
happy
lines.
lines.
These are better. It's like I had heard my whole life, no one's going to make you happy except you. You're the only person that can make you happy. I had no idea how to do it.
Yeah, what does that mean even, right? Like who knows? We're not, yeah, I wasn't taught how to, what does that mean? I heard it too, but I didn't know how to do it. But so you learned how to do it.
Learned how to do it. I learned to stop looking at my husband and start to look at myself and be happy within myself, regardless of what he was doing. I mean, it wasn't that simple. That it really
Sure.
did take some time to get there. But I do
Sure.
remember very early in self-care just feeling happy. It was such an odd experience. It just felt so odd. Like, wow, this is cool.
But felt good too, it sounds like. Odd and good at the same time, huh?
Now I want to tell you what happened next.
Tell me what happened. What happened
So,
next?
so I was doing a lot of the ridiculously happy group counseling. I mean, the group coaching things, right? So I'm sitting at the table upstairs with my laptop, and I'm on and I'm listening, and my husband pokes his head in the doorway, and I smile at him because I was in such a good place of listening to all of you, right? I smile at him, and he looks at me and he said, "Did you do something different to your hair?
Oh.
Did you get a new blouse?" And then he said, "Oh no, wait, you're smiling." And he smiled back at me.
Oh my gosh.
No, it was so cool.
It sounds so sweet, so romantic. It sounds
Oh, really?
romantic.
Oh, it just was. It was like just, I'll never forget it. It's like a photograph in my mind. I will never, ever forget it. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like he started to come out of his man cave, but really right along the heels of self-care was the respect. I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
think that's what really did it. I realized, and that's another one of those things they say, well, the most important thing in a marriage is respect. Well, I thought I was being respectful. I had no idea what respect was. Interrupting him, moving his things, making these snide little comments. And one of my favorite was, well, if it was me, I'd do it this way.
I've used that line. I know that line. It never worked for me either, boss. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So, okay. So your eyes were opening a little wider to the possibility that you had been disrespectful to him.
and I have to say that was like really, really painful.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
very painful, and I felt really bad about myself. But then I realized something, and I said to myself, you know what? If I'm part of the problem, I can be part of the solution.
Oh, so it sounds like you felt a lot of hope.
I felt a lot of hope, and you know what? Just that thought made me feel so empowered. I can do
Really?
something about this.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
Really exciting.
Yeah,
And
wow.
hope, yes, the hope that I didn't have, the despair that I had for so many years was starting to be replaced with this amazing hope.
Wow. So
And hope,
what did you do about all the disrespect?
well, I did the few things right away. Um, one of them was actually pretty easy. like, I hear you. I think that I've heard some women say that that's a really hard one, but for me, that was an easy one,
Oh, good.
like,
Yeah.
and that didn't mean that I had to agree or disagree, but I knew any time that I would express my opinion when he was in a vulnerable place like he was back then, it would never go well for me. It would
Mm.
never go well for me. So I have a history of playing devil's advocate, like a real power play kind of thing that I did for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I realized how much um, emotional turmoil I didn't have to put myself through anymore,
Wow.
just by duct tape, listening, and saying, I hear you.
Wow. It kind of, as you say it, like the devil's advocate, right? Not, it was not choosing your faith advocate. It's the devil's advocate. So it's interesting. I relate to that too. I was, devil's advocate. And it felt kind of like very tempting. Like this is gonna, of course, this is gonna be helpful and solve something to do it this way. And but it never did for me either. Uh, so okay, so you started saying, I hear you instead of taking a counterpoint
Right,
argument.
right. That's exactly what I did. And what else did I? Oh, whatever you think.
Oh,
Oh, I've got a good story about that. This
tell
was
me.
amazing. I was shocked when I said this. So he had gotten a call from the car dealership that, we could trade in our car. And, the guy had a couple of cars on the lot. He wanted Neil to go see. So Neil went to see them, and he came back home, and he said they looked really, really good. He wanted me to come out to the dealership with him to see what I thought we should do. Okay, because I'm the one that was making all the financial decisions,
That's right.
right?
You had trained him that he
Right.
needed your permission, really. Okay.
And you know what I said to him?
What?
I said to him, and I was surprised this came out of my mouth. I said to him, whatever you think, you make good financial decisions for us. And he thought he heard me wrong.
Oh
He
my
went,
gosh.
he went, what? I said, yeah, I trust you. You're going to do the absolute right thing. Go buy us a new
Unbelievable.
car.
Oh my gosh. Like, who are you? What have you done with Basia? Did
Right.
now, so did you feel like you had a personality transplant or something? Like you've been abducted by aliens or something? I mean, he kind of thought so, it sounds like, right?
Couldn't believe I said that.
Right? Was
Honestly,
your heart pounding out of your chest when you said this?
the thing about it is it came out so naturally. It
Really?
wasn't like until I said the words that I was like, wow, where did that come from? And it's like I looked at his face, and like when a fifth grade boy does something really great, and well, maybe third grade, and they look at their mother, and that was it. That face, that's what I got back.
He looked proud or happy or confident or something.
Yeah.
Wow. And it had been a while since you'd seen that face, it sounds like.
Oh, a long time, Laura. Really a
Wow.
long time. Yeah.
Wow. So what a joyful moment. Exciting. I love it. So so he bought the car.
And he
He,
came home, and I just think he couldn't have done a better job. And I told him, like, how grateful I am that he took care of this for us. I didn't have to lift a finger. Look what you did. I'm so proud of you for making this choice. I express a lot of gratitude to him because
wow.
for years, all I could see was all the stuff that I didn't want to see. And now I see all the stuff that he's a really good guy.
He
He's
is
such a good guy.
really.
He
Oh my
really
gosh.
is.
How did
It's a
you
big secret what a good guy is.
I won't tell anybody. Just the 20,000 listeners of the
That's right.
podcast will know that your husband's a good guy, which I love. So, Yeah. So how I really hear, that he looked proud and happy and he smiled at you. And how else was he responding to the new boss? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I got another one for you. This is like one of my top 10 favorites. Okay. So when we had our 35th wedding anniversary, there were a lot of anniversaries that he really didn't do anything for. But our 35th, I think he felt like he had to do something. So he bought me a cup. Now, it was a beautiful cup, but it was a cup. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
It doesn't
So
sound romantic or personal, right? It's just, yeah.
So in the middle of the fall of last year, so I'd been, you know, working with the skills, chugging along for a good 5 or 6 months at this point. He said to me one day, let's get into the car and go to a jewelry store and buy you something. No birthday, no holiday,
Oh, this wasn't a special occasion.
nothing,
It was just a Tuesday or
just a Tuesday.
oh my gosh. Oh
Not,
my gosh. And did you receive that graciously or
oh my gosh. I said, wow, I'd love to do that. Thank you. And I'm telling you, he said, I need to go to the boys' room and then we're going to get in the car and we're going to go. And right then we got in the car and we went to the jewelry store. And he said, pick out anything you want. And I picked out these beautiful gold and diamond earrings.
oh,
And
those are
I
pretty.
have only taken them off one time in all this time because I had to go to a fancy wedding. I love them.
Oh my gosh, they are beautiful and they represent
Oh,
your husband just wanting to shower you with beautiful things, it sounds like.
all he wants to do is make me happy. I mean, every time he goes out to shop, he brings me a little something. Always, every single time. If he goes to the grocery store, he'll bring me a little thing of blueberries, even in the dead of the winter, because he knows how much I love blueberries. Little things like this.
Oh, wow. That
Brings me
sounds
flowers every Friday, a beautiful
wow.
bouquet of flowers every Friday.
Wow. Wow. And none of that was happening, it sounds like before.
No, no,
So, and
no.
what about the finances at your house? Like, and him working and things like that. Like, how's that going?
Well, see, this is the most interesting thing of all. You know, the more I found that the more I invested in the skills, it seemed like the more he invested in his recovery. It was really quite something. It became so obvious because he wanted to make me happy. And he
Hmm.
knew how sad I had been and how hurt I had been. And he just wanted to make amends to me. But he also, it's like he started, I think, doing it for me. And then now he's working because it's making him feel like a guy, like a man. I don't even work anymore.
You don't even
I don't
work
work in,
anymore.
nope,
So you don't
nope,
have no income.
nope. I gave up my job in June, this past June. It was a risk, but I trusted him enough to do that. And he's risen to the occasion. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but he's made tremendous progress. I'm so proud of him. I tell him all the time. He'll come to me and he'll say, money's getting a little low in the checking account. So we really have to kind of like buckle up a little bit. And I say to him now, and it's true what I'm saying to him, I'm not worried. You always take care of this for us. I'm not worried.
Oh my gosh. But you used to do nothing but worry, it sounds like. And now you're not worried?
No, I'm
What
not
it
worried.
do little worried thoughts ever cross your mind?
They do, but I know what to do with them now.
What
I
do you
have
do?
a tremendous thing that I say. It's a spouse fulfilling prophecy that I started saying way back when, and I really think that this has helped more than anything around this. It's like my husband is a hard worker and a good provider.
Oh, and now that feels true.
Now it feels true.
Wow. And to the point where you don't have to work and he's taking care of the money and you're trusting and do you feel prosperous?
I feel prosperous. I feel like we have everything we need. I feel like if I wanted to do something like take a trip to visit a friend, I wouldn't have to worry about it. If I wanted to buy a new dress, if I wanted to do this or that, we have a little bit of savings set aside now, which we didn't have anything before. But prosperous, more than anything, the way I feel prosperous is in um, my relationship with him. I feel
Mm.
like I feel like um, there's a bounty of blessings
Wow.
in our
It,
marriage now.
it sounds like you feel taken care of.
I feel taken care of.
Yeah. And that's something you always wanted. And
I
now
feel
you have
safe
it.
and secure and loved and cherished. And I could, it makes me teary when I am so grateful. I couldn't be more grateful, you know.
That's awesome. Beautiful job. Wow. What a transformation. So even if you think, if somebody who's listening thinks that, well, I've been married so long, things can never change. You're here
Oh,
to say they can totally change. They can totally
oh my
transform.
gosh.
It's amazing. Yeah, I really admire you so much for being so willing to try some of these crazy things that your friend introduced you to. So, and do you have children?
We do. We have a son. This has been a very difficult relationship with us for a very long time. He's almost 50. I'm 70, by the way.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. I didn't
can teach
know.
an old dog new tricks.
You
Uh,
can. You can. I love that. I love that. Okay,
yeah,
so your son is 50 and it's been a difficult relationship.
it has. It really has. And I want to say that I didn't realize for so long how much I interfered in my husband's relationship with our son, you know? And I just would get in the way all the time. I got in the way all the time with that. It's like I thought he was talking too sharply to him. It's like I'm walking on eggshells with my son. It's like I didn't realize this is the way guys talk to each other, and I just, like everything else, I wanted to get in there and fix it. I wanted to save it. I wanted to like soften his words or oh now it's like I am hands off and they seem to be doing so much better without me in the middle. Go figure.
Well, that must be great. That must be a relief to see. So there's a little more it's more amicable, the relationship with your son, it sounds like.
It's much more amicable. We have a long way to go, but I have a vision for my relationship with my son and the family, and I hold it really close to my heart. And whenever I get in
Mhm.
fear, I go right back to that vision that I have, and it just changes the whole way I view the situation. What do you call it? Perspectives? I could never say that. What do you call
Yeah, yeah, like a cross between perspective and spectacles, right? It's perspectacles. It changes your perspectives. Yeah. 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 So it sounds like the dedication to practicing the skills has even impacted your relationship with your son.
and my friends and my sisters and my brothers and it's
Really? How are those relationships different?
oh my gosh. So yesterday I opened my mailbox and I had three cards from three of my siblings. I have four siblings, lovely cards for the holidays. I talk to them all the time. I had a brother that I hadn't talked to for a good 12 years, and now we email and we talk. It's like
Oh.
I'm they like me better now. I don't know why, but I can't quite figure that out. But
Who knew? Who knew? Oh, I love this. So it's kind of there's a healing in your whole family. It sounds like your siblings and your offspring, of course. So I admire that very much because that really that speaks volumes about how you are showing up um, as your best self in those relationships too, it sounds like.
Yeah, thank you. A day
Yeah.
at a time. Yep.
Yeah. So, what is your tip to someone who's listening who maybe where you were, where the husband has an addiction? She really feels the only way is to control things and to make sure that he stays in his recovery, to tell him about how he needs to check in with a sponsor every day or whatever, to get the professionals to come over and tell him how to do things. But she wants what you have now, where he just comes in and smiles at you and sees you so differently and wants to spontaneously take you to get jewelry and wants to take care of you and feels so proud. What is your best tip for her? How should she start?
I would say, as difficult as it is and as hopeless as she might feel, for me, it was trying to learn to place faith before fear. That was that, like knowing that the way it looks now doesn't mean that it's going to look like this forever, that there's a solution, you know. I'm just going to talk to her right now, okay? I'm just going to say to her, there's a solution. You don't have to live in this pain and misery. You just don't have to. You're not alone. You're in a group there's a group of women who have been in exactly the same place that you're in now. And also, just to know that it's never too late. It's never, ever, ever too late. I lived in a miserable marriage for over 3 decades. It's never too late. I'm the poster child for that.
Yeah, you are. It's super inspiring, Vasya. It's never too late. I just love hearing that. And I love that you just always see a hope for a better possibility, no matter how long the situation's gone on. It doesn't mean it's permanent.
So much hope here. So much.
Yeah. And what do you think you would say to yourself if you could go back in time now and talk to Basia from before?
Uh,
What would you tell her?
um, I would tell her that that there's hope, that there's a solution, and it's right in front of you. And all you really have to do is be open to receive it. Just be open to receive it.
And you were so open, and it's not the easiest thing to do, is it, to be open?
No,
No.
it's a real letting go. And it really is, like putting like your big toe into the water, of faith. That's what it is.
You put your big toe in and then part of your leg and then your whole
Or
leg.
maybe you start with your little toe.
Your little toe. Okay, your little toe. And now you're all in, it looks
Yes.
like. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's fantastic. I mean, congratulations on transforming your whole family, the culture in your home, and all those relationships. And I guess, how do you think you have changed as a person?
Well, I'll say this one thing, which I think is everything. It's like I feel really good about myself. I feel like, I'm the best self that I can be right now in this moment, and it really is only going to get better.
That's awesome. So I hear just like a confidence and a lot of self-love and some pride, I think, in how you're showing up in the world.
And a lot of gratitude, Laura,
And
a
a lot of
lot of gratitude. And especially,
beautiful.
a lot of gratitude toward you. You saved my marriage, you saved my life. Oh, you look so cute. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And you're so
Thank you.
humble too. I've learned a
Oh,
lot from you. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Boss. Yeah, I love hearing that. Thank you for your beautiful gratitude and for being so open and sharing so vulnerably today. This has been very moving for me. And I know a lot of listeners are taking inspiration from it too. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest.
Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week, I'll share how to become an adored wife via the 5-day challenge. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that lately I'm into eating whole foods, like a whole pumpkin pie.